Hi, my name is Richard Norton. I started martial arts a long time ago, too long I want to remember, but it would have been 1961. Began judo in Nunawading, which is a suburb of Melbourne, Australia. Very skinny little kid at that stage. Judo wasn't for me because I ended up like one of those cartoon characters, getting chucked from one end of the dojo to the other. In other words, those comic book ads about beating 5 assailants with one finger. They lied to me. Anyway, that led me to a friend of mine who was doing judo, told me about a karate school opening up. And that was incredibly exciting for me because I'd been learning a little bit from this guy. He was just a school friend. And he'd been learning out of Masayama's books and, you know, was doing little tricks, breaking boards and everything. So you can imagine as a kid that was pretty intriguing to me. So we went along to this school that was in a place called Bayswater, and that's when I first met my original karate instructor, Hanshi Tino Seberano, and the style was Goju Kai. And I watched this demonstration. They did very simple stuff, 4 steps, you know, 1 step sparring, Taikoku Jodan, which is the H pattern kata, and they did a little bit of sparring. Hanshi had only been in the country from the Marines. He was Hawaiian Filipino, and he'd only been here a very short time. He'd had a few students for a number of months, but when I saw them demonstrate, I knew immediately this is what I want to do. I mean, I saw it as a standoff art, an art that depended on speed and agility, not so much strength and power. And again, for somebody my size, I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. So that was my introduction into the world of martial arts in a real sense. And I trained with Hanshi for quite a number of years. Ended up starting up some schools with a longtime partner of mine, Bob Jones, and the style was called Zendo Kai. We ended up, by the time I left that style, we had hundreds of schools throughout Australia. Very eclectic system, very much on the American model of taking kind of whatever works from different systems and incorporating it. Tough school. I used to always say what we lacked in like the years we made up with blood, sweat and tears. And a phenomenal experience. And it was through Zendo Kai that Bob brought Chuck Norris out to Australia. That would have been, I think, about 1978. And Chuck and I immediately hit it off. I mean, he was just a wonderful guy. We became good friends. And Chuck was doing a demonstration on some tournaments we were holding, and I was also demonstrating, doing some sai and katana work. And he really liked what he saw. And I went to the States in 1979, actually as a personal bodyguard for Linda Ronstadt and James Taylor. And Chuck had said, if you ever get to California, make sure you look me up. And of course, you got to realize in Australia, for American viewers, all we had here was Black Belt magazine. And all people like myself could do back then was read about people like Chuck Norris and Joe Louis, etc. And you know, the chance to go and train with somebody like Chuck was like a dream come true. So I arrived in California, and Chuck was one of the first people I called. And we started working out every day. You had a house out in Rolling Hills Estates in California, you know, out of Los Angeles. Every day in a little back room, and it was the start of a whole new career for me because Chuck had done a couple of movies, and he was getting ready to do a movie called The Octagon. And because he'd seen my demonstrations in Australia and knew I could handle different Japanese weapons, he cast me in the movie, and I helped choreograph a number of the fights in Octagon. And I was the main Kyo character. I had a mask on because the character theoretically was Asian, and introduced sai into the movies at that stage. And my claim to fame in that, by the way, is that I died 8 times. I said to my mom, you might not recognize me, but every time you see somebody in a little black suit go splat, it's probably me. It's like, that's very good, son. Anyway, on from there I worked with Chuck in a number of movies, and through Pat Johnson got to audition for a film called Force 5 with Fred Weintraub and Bob Klaus of Enter the Dragon fame, producer and director. And that was the turning point for me movie-wise, because I went to audition. There's probably 100 of the top martial artists in America, and I was sort of in the world of, well, what hope have I got? I've got an accent, nobody knows me here, these are some legends here on this floor. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it ended up 10 people and I was still one of them. Big change in attitude for me. It became why not me instead of why me. And my attitude was, I've trained just as hard as anybody, I've just got the same shot as everybody else, it's a matter of believing in yourself. And that was my first lead, and 60 plus movies later I'm still there, still going. Sometimes coordinating, sometimes acting, sometimes doing a bit of directing, and it's been a wonderful journey. And I remember when I went to the States, I said to everybody, I'll be back in a month, I don't want to live anywhere else. But 27 years later I'm still there, made some wonderful friends. Back here in Australia now, you know, at the invitation of Mustafari and his Martial Arts Expo, wonderful event, and a chance to reconnect with a lot of old friends in the martial arts and a lot of new friends, and hopefully, you know, we can all be an inspiration to each other with this event. And, you know, my big push when I sort of talk to people is, honestly, a little kid growing up in Croydon in the suburb of Melbourne, Australia, if I can make it on the world stage, doesn't matter to what level, you know, what sort of movies, if I can make it and be passionate about what I'm doing, then you can too. Again, it's just having belief and going out there and daring to participate, daring to sort of step out of your comfort zone and be in areas that make you a little uncomfortable, confront your fears, and who knows what's in front of you. So it's been a wonderful life for me, because I've basically spent the last, well, even since my teen years, just doing what I love doing. And again, I emphasize, all I ever wanted to do was be the best martial artist I could be. It didn't matter if I wasn't necessarily as good as the next person, as long as I was pushing myself. And all the good things in my life have come really as a result of that ambition to just keep learning, to never stop, to be a body in motion, not to stand still, fold the arms and think I've found it all and know it all. Just to keep moving, keep learning, and that's really my life up to date, and I'm going to keep on going. Role models. Probably my number one role model for me, and still is Hanshi Tino Severano, because, you know, as martial artists, we need to remember where we came from. And for me, Tino is like my dad, you know, in the martial arts. I was just a young kid when he got me started, gave me the best grounding any student could ever wish for. And it's as a result of that grounding and introduction, I have the life I have now. So, you know, totally indebted to Hanshi for that. And again, I often say to people, when you start martial arts as a layperson, you don't know whether your instructor's good or bad, because you don't know anything to base it on. You know, when I look back in hindsight, I know I had the best possible introduction any martial artist could hope for in Hanshi. Another obvious role model for me is Chuck Norris. Got me started in the movies, egoless gentleman, trained with anybody and everybody. Anyone that could teach him something, he would bow down to them just to get that knowledge. It's still trained, still in great shape. You know, Chuck's obviously older than I am, but you wouldn't know it. And with what he's achieved with his life through his martial arts and his positive attitude, that's been very inspirational to me. And more than anything, the fact that he remains such a gentleman of the arts in life and on the mat, a great role model. And people like Benny Urquidez, Benny the Jet, another gentleman, toughest fighter that I know pound for pound. So giving, so sharing with his knowledge. Sensei Fumio Demura used to spend hours with me just by ourselves on a Saturday. He would teach me weapon forms. And I didn't have any money, all I had was an eagerness to learn. And he's the epitome of what I think a great sensei should be. And I've managed to meet so many wonderful people like that, you know, in the US. And again, to come back here and see the role models that we have here now. I mean, I just saw some demonstrations with some of the younger guys. Man, I wasn't going to get up there and stand next to them for the world. And that's great. That's encouraging to see. And I just hope they can look at what I achieved, use that as a springboard to just go into bigger and better things and put Australia on the map, because pound for pound and per head of capita, we've got some of the best martial artists in the world. Just in closing, I would just say, you know, I gave a little talk before about passion. Be passionate about what you do. It's vital. You know, there are so many people going through every day in their lives hating their jobs, hating getting up in the morning. Find something that you are so passionate about you can't wait to get up in the morning and be involved in that activity. And again, I've been blessed to have martial arts as a passion for me. As I said, it resulted in so many great things in my life. Find something you're passionate about. Find something that gets you out of bed that you just enjoy, and search the knowledge out. Become a master in that area that you are passionate about. And keep in motion. Don't accept mediocrity. Too many people are okay with being mediocre. You don't need to be. Push yourself, you know, to be a little better than you think you're normally able to or normally capable of. And step outside of your boundaries, as I keep saying. Dare to participate and just make the most. You know, a little closing thing I'd like to say is I met Helio Gracie some time ago. Mr. Norris and I went and met him. Now Helio's, I think, 91 when we met him. He's straight as a die. He still does his drills every day with his jiu-jitsu. There's no bending over, there's no hunching. And I really went away and I said, that's what it's about. To be passionate about what you do and to be actively involved at 90 years of age, it doesn't get any better than that. So, you know, onwards and upwards. Thank you.